I really felt like we were friends. She made us enemies in a way that I could never understand.
The R&B superstar is opening up like never before in an upcoming interview on Oprah's Next Chapter. For the first time, he talks about the end of his marriage, the rumors that filled the tabloids, and his emotional experience in court as he fought for custody of his sons.
It wasn't until I was on the stand where I cried that I then realized, oh, this is an attack.
Were you in love?
I loved her. Yes, I did. I was in love.
After Usher's big revelation, Oprah is trying to move past it, focusing on why she's staying quiet. Meanwhile, Hollywood and the music world are buzzing over Usher's connection with Diddy and the secrets he's sharing about major stars like Oprah and Tom Hanks.
And we used to actually wrestle off of the frosted flakes because he used to always get up early. Now he's one of the richest stars in the world.
Yo, what the hip-hop just say? Nobody's gonna acknowledge this.
Celebrities close to Diddy are shaken by recent news. The same prosecutor who went after Jeffrey Epstein is now focusing on them. In a recent FBI announcement, it was revealed that Maureen Comey, the lead prosecutor in the Epstein case, has decided to take on Diddy next.
Let's talk about what's happening with Harvey Weinstein. I know you posted on Facebook already, but you haven't kind of spoken yet publicly about what's going on.
I think that this is, I'm always trying to look for the rainbow in the cloud, whatever is the silver lining. And this is what I do know for sure. When something this major happens, when you have the fallout, 50 women coming forward, that it's a watershed moment. And what I do believe is actually happening is that, first of all, it's triggering a lot of unreleased pain, repressed anger, guilt, and suffering that a lot of women have had. I happened to be on set with several actresses the other day, and we were filming some things, and they hadn't slept over a period of 2 or 3 days, and I was like, what is that? And they said, oh, you guys are suffering from PTSD.
And when you start talking about it out loud, too.
Everybody has a story. Everybody has a story. And so I think this is a watershed moment. And if we make this just about Harvey Weinstein, then we will have lost this.
Diddy and Oprah have a deep history together, and Usher's interview has highlighted Diddy's ongoing inappropriate behavior with minors. It has also come to light that Oprah is very close friends with Diddy, as well as with Harvey Weinstein and Jeffrey Epstein.
Team prosecuting Sean Diddy Combs in the Southern District of New York just gained a new member, and it's a big name in that office. She's an assistant U.S. attorney in the Southern District of New York, and she's known for working on other high-profile sex trafficking cases. Maureen Comey's name might sound familiar. More on that in a bit. Comey was the lead prosecutor on Ghislaine Maxwell's sex trafficking case. In case you're not familiar, Maxwell was Jeffrey Epstein's longtime girlfriend. She's a British socialite, and she was convicted of helping Epstein procure teen girls for sex. Maxwell is appealing her conviction, won by the team led by Maureen Comey. Maureen Comey was also on the prosecution team for Epstein himself before he died by in the Metropolitan Detention Center in Brooklyn.
Given the serious allegations against Oprah and her connection to Diddy, it seems she's finally trying to distance herself from the situation. The same person who was once seen with Harvey Weinstein is now reportedly speaking out about Diddy, possibly in an effort to escape the ongoing controversy.
Because you know he was running with Oprah and them. He was running with that whole crew. Weinstein, Oprah, Epstein. He was running with that whole crew. They want to know how we're going to do it, how the public is going to take him. Is the public going to let him back in? And the public is not. The public is already canceling him. I don't believe the industry has canceled him yet. All those people who went to those Diddy parties, not one of them had came out and denounced what he has done. I haven't heard one of them. I have not heard one person denounce, well, man, let God handle it. Get the hell out of here. Get out of here with that. If that was your daughter, would you let God handle it? All those people, they ain't denounced him. They ain't definitely, they can't come forward and say, yo, I support them, because it would mess up their brand. It would mess up their brand. Jay-Z, We the only one could call each other Sean. Jay is the only one could call me Sean. I'm the only one could call him Sean. Get the hell out of here. If that ain't no fun boy stuff. But you ain't had not one person, brother, not one person sit there and denounce what he did or come forward and say, I support him.
It's worth mentioning that Tom Hanks has been linked to similar situations. However, as soon as any investigation begins, he and others quickly deny ever being involved in any questionable parties.
We will have lost this moment. I think this is a moment where no matter what business you work in, there have been women who not only had the disease to please, that's a part of it, but who felt that in order to keep my job, in order to keep my position, in order to keep moving forward, I've got to smile, I've got to look the other way, I got to pretend he didn't say that, I got to pretend he didn't touch me. I think those days are about to be over.
Are over. And if it happens to you back in the day, you would say, sometimes you're not even aware what he just said. Was it really inappropriate?
I know you've had a couple moments.
Where you just think, what did he just say?
Yes, I remember Gail had a moment when she came and said to me what somebody said that it was so inappropriate. I was like, oh my God, you can sue over that. But
no, and all I said was, what did you say? And then they repeated it.
Yes.
It's terrible. I just sat there typing with my 20-something-year-old.
Pretend you didn't hear it.
Yes.
You pretend it's okay. You pretend you didn't.
No, it isn't. You're right, Jeff. Absolutely. You're absolutely right.
But a lot of women have been silenced, and I know.
But I think it's going to change.
Being a victim of child sexual abuse, that when you feel like you cannot be heard, and then other people start speaking out, it makes you feel like, oh, now I can speak out too.
Yeah.
So,
and you've been speaking about it for
years.
Usher, one of Diddy's close friends, was often seen at all-white parties and wild events. If Diddy decides to release his freak-off video in response to the backlash, it could lead to more celebrities being exposed.
The idea that there are sexual predators in power, not just in Hollywood, but I think all across any place there's a boss with underlings in any corporation or any industry, you have a type of sexual politics that goes on that can slide in between appropriate ethics and decorum to inappropriate behavior to the point of harassment and sexual predatory behavior.
Well, I mean, I think people understand that, but the larger question is there a culture of complicity in Hollywood where women are afraid to speak up because they'll be blacklisted, men are afraid to speak up because either they're out of the same fear or they just think, well, this is the way the system works.
I think there are people that say, hey, this is how it works, pure and simple, and this is why I got into it, and this is why I have power. This is how it works, and you have to understand that. That does not carry the day. Complicity is also complicity. The people who know, well, look, this is how we do business, and that's what it's got to be done. I'm sorry it's like that. So beware. That's also present, without a doubt, but it does not carry the day. There's also people that were afraid to speak out, who were victims, that did not go forward, that signed, negotiated settlement deals of which a non-disclosure agreement was part and parcel to it. That also does not carry the day.
We want to thank you. Come here. Don't sit on the bed at night. No homo. No, just don't get close to the bed. Don't get close. But it's just like, yo, we want to thank you for hosting the thing, man. It's been a pleasure. You didn't have to do it, and you did it.
No, I definitely didn't have to do it. I definitely didn't have to. First and foremost, I'm not getting in the bed. Shout out to him and what he did. I'm just gonna, if we can, just let's just put the camera a little this way, just so we're not. I don't want my shot to even I don't want it to come close to the bed at all. Usher look like he fresh off a goddamn plane.
Fresh off the guard stage. That's my brother right here from day one. We used to wake up and, pause, but like just, back in the days when he was like 10 and I was a little bit older, his older brother, we used to fight over the Frosted Flakes. You know what I'm saying? Before pause was invented. You know what I'm saying? But it's my brother for real. We used to actually wrestle off of the Frosted Flakes because he used to always get up early. Now he's one of the richest stars in the world. And
What the f did Puff just say? Nobody's going to acknowledge this but me. Puff just said we used to wrestle over the Frosted Flakes, and we're streaming live. That was stupid. Listen, that was stupid. Listen,
we're having a good time. Yo, Usher made it in. Hey, yo.
Diddy is dealing with more than 36 legal cases in courts around the world, both civil and criminal. The real threat isn't jail time, but the chance of a public trial. Given his status as a global brand, a televised trial could reveal his connections and disrupt an entire industry. In contrast, if he were to go to prison, it would primarily damage his personal reputation.
There are a lot of people in Hollywood who are probably worried about which Diddy parties they were at and what was going on. That's not to say that they were necessarily even involved in any of the things that are alleged by the U.S. Attorney's Office. But if you're at that party and it turns out that that's when he set up one of these freak-off sex parties, or that it was going on in another room and you didn't know about it, there's a good chance that you're going to be called by the U.S. Attorney's Office. And certainly if you were involved, you would get a call, because they're going to want to know everything you want to know and may even want you to be a witness. I just think, we're just starting to scratch the surface of what this case, this case is going to touch and involve. And the feds have said that this remains an open investigation. There could be more charges for Diddy. There could be more charges for other people involved. And usually the way this works is once they find out other people are involved or were witnesses, they bring them in and they sort of lean on them. And it's sort of like, you're going to cooperate with us, or there's a possibility that you could face charges. So this is going to be a slow developing case here, because we're just getting started. And I don't see how this trial begins anytime before next year.
In the past 2 weeks, at least 6 new witnesses who attended Diddy's parties have stepped forward. Among them is Diddy's own party planner, Tony Wallace, along with models, celebrities, and management staff. Wallace believes she saw underage victims at one of Diddy's parties in 2018.
People in these lawsuits, we're not going to do it in interviews. We're not going to do it, without doing our due diligence, because obviously, these types of allegations are very hurtful to people if they're not true. And very hurtful, frankly, if they are true. But if they're true, you shouldn't have been in the room and you shouldn't have been participating. So I anticipate that we're going to start filing lawsuits, and it may not be big names at first, but we have a long list of names. And you might imagine in situations like this, that when a victim tells us that this person was in the room or this person participated, we want to do as much due diligence as humanly possible before we file that case. Because in the United States, in almost every state, public filings are in fact public. And, when you name somebody in a lawsuit, the press is going to pick it up, and we're aware of that. So we're going to make sure that we dot our I's and cross our T's. And I expect that there will be some people named in these lawsuits that will raise some eyebrows.
Another instance, another minor, told allegedly by Sean Combs that he would make him a star, but needed a visit with him in private about it, away from his parents. Once they were in a private area, allegedly Mr. Combs made the victim perform oral sex upon him. Another incident, an individual 15 years old at the time, flown to New York City to attend a party, was drugged and then taken into a private room, allegedly in the presence of Mr. Combs, where this female individual, minor, was raped, and then other individuals took turns. Another individual, 26 at the time of the occurrence, was picked up allegedly by Mr. Combs and several other people in a black SUV from the airport, was given one drink in the SUV, and then literally woke up the next day not knowing what had happened, but with pain and damage to both her vagina and her anus, where she then went to the hospital. She was missing her underwear and her shoes. Another instance, an individual, this time not a minor, attended a group dinner, allegedly with Sean Combs in Miami. She wasn't drinking because she was pregnant, but whatever she drank at the table, apparently, at least according to her, was laced with something. She blacked out, and she woke up in the same bed, again, allegedly, with Mr. Combs in his mansion in Miami. Her vagina and her anus were torn and sore.
In addition to the eyewitness accounts, we now have actual recordings of these incidents. The details they've uncovered are incredibly alarming.
I'm looking like, are those midgets? Because people were it's people over them. Like, it's people trying to hide what they're doing.
Adults who are little people, or are you talking about minors?
Am I going to get in trouble? I don't want to say I witnessed any of that crazy stuff, but we all have common sense. Little people. It's not supposed to be there.
You're talking about underage people.
It's a shame.
Is this woman, Tania, is she really saying that there were minors involved in these freak-offs?
That is exactly what she's saying, Billy. Now, as for what they were doing, she never really could get a clean look at it. She said there was a wall of adults encircling them who clearly didn't want everyone at the party to see what was happening there. She said when she saw this scene with the younger people, that it was about 7 a.m. and that the party had been going all night.
Did anyone ask her why didn't she leave, and what was she doing?
She was there as the guest of a Saudi prince. Why she didn't leave, I don't know what time she left. I agree with you that once you see something like she's describing, that's the time to tip out the door.
Or call the FBI. I mean,
or call the FBI, exactly. But, you know, that's the other thing that we've heard from a lot of people who've been involved in parties with Diddy, that there are NDAs that are signed, and you walk out and you feel like, I can't say anything.
Diddy has a long history of using physical violence, extortion, and bribery to silence anyone who might criticize him. Now, his alleged crimes are catching up to him, along with those who helped or encouraged him. According to his former bodyguard, Diddy has incriminating recordings featuring several well-known people.
And those statements include descriptions of what the witness says he saw on those tapes. So I asked him about that, and he answered what he could, given the limitations imposed on him after testifying before the grand jury. Out of those 8 videos, 8 celebrities, 6 men and 2 women, how many of those 8 celebrities were close to being underage or potentially underage?
2 males.
2 males. And of those 8 celebrities, how many of them were intoxicated or under the influence of drugs?
This is going to be all speculation. I just want to preface it by he wouldn't know if they were. Right.
Sure.
Appeared to
Let me
be,
rephrase
right,
it.
Based on, yes.
Understand. Out of the 8 celebrities who were recorded having intimate relations with Sean Combs, how many of them appeared to be either inebriated or intoxicated or under the influence?
All of them. All of them.
Out of those 8, how many appear to be potentially victimized? How many might have been victimizing?
I think, all, to be honest, all.
Were victims
They
or
victims.
were perpetrating?
Victims.
They were, all 8 were victimized.
Yeah.
Meaning this was happening to them and they were inebriated.
Right. Not knowing, I guess, how much proof it was in it, what they were doing.
And of those 8, how many seemed to be potential minors?
2 to 3, possibly 3.
Thanks for watching. Go to joinnn.com to find News Nation on your screen. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of News Nation's fact-driven, unbiased.
It seems that those who once believed they were untouchable are now facing the consequences, as shocking revelations, leaked recordings, and witness testimonies come to light. The big question is, will Hollywood's elite finally be held accountable, or will they find a way to escape justice once again?
And I want to start with Tania Wallace, who claims she's been at a freak-off and said she saw children, and it was hard for her to say it.
It was very hard for her to say it, Ashley. So what she said was that she was flown out from L.A. to Miami by the Saudi prince, and they ended up eventually on Star Island at one of Diddy's parties. She says, you know, among many other things, I mean, she goes into detail. This, she says, happened in 2018. She says that she walked into the house and there was a cluster of adults around what she described as little people. and they were dressed up as Japanese Barbies. I forgot the name. It's Herrick something. You can help me out here. It's a certain type of Barbie. Anyway,
I know the name, but I've forgotten it. But go ahead.
So she explained that that they were just clustered around these little people, and I kept pushing her, and she eventually said, "Look, they are little people who should not be at an adult party." And I pushed her, and it was apparent what she was saying is they were minors. Now, she didn't see anything specific that was going on with them other than that adults were kind of huddled around them. But she told just a wild story about what was going on at the house, even at 7 a.m, that this thing apparently raged all night long.
You know, it's amazing. TMZ always gets such great scoops, and this one might be one of your best as well. You got a hold of one of the freak-off tapes. Your producers have seen it. The description is, and I'll quote, "It's porn directed by Diddy himself." And a male sex worker really sort of walks through what happened in the experiences that he had. They didn't sound illegal, but they sure seem to comport with a lot of the other stories that have been told.
Yeah. So this was a threesome. What you would ask me about earlier about Tania Wallace, she said there were more than 100 people at that party, including at least 4 celebrities. But what you're talking about now was a threesome, and that's something that the U.S. attorney even referenced. And his lawyer in an earlier documentary we did, he was describing threesomes. He says it was all consensual. So yes, what we're told is that this male sex worker was flown out to various locations over a couple of years, Miami, New York, Los Angeles, and one other. And they would meet in hotel rooms, and Diddy would often watch as he would have sex with this woman who was associated with Diddy. So that seems to be what the feds are looking at right now in terms of alleged sex trafficking, if they are transporting somebody and perhaps paying them to cross state lines. That could end up being part of sex trafficking. And we know that this guy got a subpoena, and he ended up not testifying before the grand jury, but talking to prosecutors. And we're told that he left that tape with them.
And in fact, if he was transported, if he was even consensual in that setup, you're right, that is sex trafficking. It's classic federal crime to cross state lines for the purpose of selling sex. But it also comports just with the description of many of the other incidents that did sound illegal, where there was, heavy intoxication involved in some of these incidents, but the setup sounded